when you say yes the whole time. Like that's my
Mhm.
one thing. And it's come up a couple times where, somebody, they said yes to a job. So we didn't
Mhm.
trick you. We didn't kidnap
Right.
you. You said yes. So when you
Right.
get here, continue to say yes. Don't say yes and then get there and your attitude is no. Like, oh, it's taking so long. Why is it that, like, no. You said yes. So you say yes until you're wrapped. You say yes till you're signing out. Like and I've had to remind myself of that sometimes because as a Midwestern, we also have a hard time saying no, or as a
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
just
Yeah. All of
learning
it.
that skill. So
Yeah.
sometimes I've said yes to things when I know I don't want to do it. It's going to make me feel stressed because I've got too much, and then so I I'll get the day will come where I've said the yes and then it's approaching and I'm starting to get that feeling of like, you didn't want to do it. You didn't want to do it, but you said yes. So Melissa, you better make sure you show up there tomorrow and yes is on your face. Yes is in everything you do. And then as soon as you do that, you end up having a great time, but it's also a lesson that sometimes you should have just said no.
Welcome to the Fifi Uncensored podcast, episode 110, part 1, with our very funny, smart, and beautiful actress, comedian, and TV personality host, Melissa Peterman. And I sit down for the first time, though we've known each other and run into each other over many years. Together, we sit down and we discuss all things from body image to being a character actress to being a Midwest woman. So grab that cannoli and grab that coffee because here we go. Hey, Melissa.
Hi,
Gorgeous.
how are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. First and foremost, welcome Melissa Peterman to the Fifi Uncensored podcast. But more importantly, thank you for saying yes because I literally have adored you from the first time we met. Truthfully, I was gonna find this photo of the me from then because of the you then who was so inspiring and so I'd already worked with a lot of people, already had worked with a lot of talent.
Because
And here we are on this little independent movie that I came in last minute to kind of do my thing
right.
and hopefully help be of an asset. And it wasn't even about it's always about creating a connection, right? And creating that space of safe and contribution and creativity. But you just came in for me with a bang about, and I'm just gonna jump right into it, like body image and like just being great in your skin. And I, ran my own photo studio and helped launch a lot of people's careers and have
Mm.
been around bodies all my life, being in women's ready to wear. And then coming into Hollywood as somebody who was going to professionally act. And literally, I don't know if I ever share this with you, but literally this very big director that I was while I was still in Chicago was cast in a piece, was already in my costume on set. He walks onto the set in front of everybody, says, "Get the fat girl off the set."
I heard you shared that story on one of the with Amanda, I think. On
Yes,
and
probably.
it just I have a story. We all have a story like that, exact one. And it's just and I was such a well, finish your story and then or finish that thought because I'm sorry I interrupted, but
No, you didn't interrupt. And here's the thing: I don't love repeating the story. The reason why I share the story is not to stay in that story, but to say why you were so inspirational. I was going to Hawaii to meet my then boyfriend, now husband, and I showed up there like I'm wearing a bikini at this weight, at this size. I am owning and loving and living in me. And ironically, met up with a girlfriend who's also in the industry, who's tiny as tiny can be. like Sarah Jessica Parker Tiny, who I love and work with also. And we went out scuba diving and we came back. I invited her back to the hotel pool. And as we're there and I'm in and out of the pool, she just was like, I don't know who you think you are, but your body is slamming. Like there is nothing out of place. And I just went to you. And I just want to, I like, that was my first, like, I have chills, like my hair stands up. Like, I don't get that, Melissa. So I want to thank you.
Well, I'm glad because, sometimes what we do for others, we forget to do for ourselves. And you don't know that you maybe did that because you still have to remind yourself sometimes what you express to other people. So thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
absolutely welcome. It's funny that you say that because being the funny woman that I love and know and adore you for, um, that wasn't funny. That was deep and serious. but but my reason for that is yes, to your point, we do need to remind ourselves we are an exchange of energy is all we are, right? And in one moment we're the teacher, in one moment we're the student, and we deliver it in so many ways. You came into the world being to share your comedic, smart, beautiful self, and that's how you get your message out. And we are human beings, so we're human beings, and who people see us in the world as does not necessarily define who we are, right? And so, yeah, you were an inspiration to me in that moment that I never forgot. There's plenty of moments I forget in my life, as we all do, right? But I love that that was an impactful moment, even though I know this, but like you said, we need to be reminded, and that I just love that that was a moment that just was that moment. But I also want to just move on and say, like, from that moment, I knew of you before that moment because of Mo Collins.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
One of the
because
funniest, speaking of funny, like beautiful, inspiring, just exudes you want to be around her person. Yes.
and to that point, I have thought since I was aware of you and working with Mo from Mad TV days, I was like, girlfriend, comedic women have always been my draw. Since I was a very little girl, I was leaning into that television frame and I was laughing and slapping my knee. And it didn't matter if it's Joan Rivers or Toady Fields or Lily Tomlin or the list goes on. And so I've always loved and been drawn, as well as I've been that person to many people. Whether people in this world
Right.
knew
Right.
that or not, it's irrelevant. So I've always loved the smart, funny woman. And so I think it's really interesting that people like Mo and you have come into my life, and no surprise, because you're Midwest women with a sensibility that I align with, being a Midwest girl,
Right.
that has this very straightforward kind of, it's like this work ethic with this real kind of authentic, with this, the tell it like it is, but give it the twist. And it's just relatable as all heck. And I've always thought, I'm going to produce something with Melissa and Mo someday. I've
I
got to do this. And I thought that back then, Melissa. I swear to God. I
that
swear on my father's grave.
well, keep saying it out loud and make it happen because that would be her and we both have talked about that it would be so much fun. And again, as you get older, like I don't want to work with people I don't love anymore. Like,
No.
that's all I want to do. And the idea of getting to work with Mo would just be a dream. And if for you were produced, please do it. Just say it out loud over and over. Let's say at least 10 times during the
I
podcast.
promise you. I promise you. I for some reason my dog is in here. Let me just let her out because she's gonna have a moment. Forgive the lack of professionalism.
Well, I
But
feel like
with
I need
that
to
being
breathe light. I love your background.
well, thank you. This is my studio where I see my private clients and where I do my podcasts and I work out and transformation. It's this space is like, you got to come over.
I
You
do
got to come
because I
over
want
and
to do
just
all
hang
those
out.
things.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we do everything hair, makeup, spray tan for the red carpet, for the just feel good moment, cut, color, spray tan, makeup, reformer,
I want
slap,
to do it all while I
stretch.
want to be spray tanned while working out. That's what I want to have happen.
Oh my God, right? It's so
And that way
funny.
you can actually see where I want you to put the like shade in the muscles I'm working on. Yeah.
I love that post that you highlighted your trainer. I have loved highlighting my trainer. Are they not like rock stars in our life?
She is. And the thing is, and she's like 30. She's used to be a gymnast, so her whole thing is like train like a gymnast. It's all about strength and balance. And she's just stunning. And yet she has enough of a sense of humor that she knows that I'm going to have to yell at you and make fun of you and make you and say things like, I don't want to do that. Nobody's body is supposed to do that. And she gets it. But she has been such a it is, it's like it's that hair and makeup person. It's like that person that sees all of you in the more like they're the most important in the room, and they're there, you're there, they know you when you're good, bad. They know exactly what you really look like. They see you. And so I love that she makes me feel capable and strong, and we all are.
Yeah.
And I remember we've been almost a year together now, and the first time it was like running steps by my house, and she was like, can you go up and down? It's a huge thing. It's all the way down the street. It's probably like 100 and some stairs, and it was
Yeah.
gonna see if I could do it. I could barely do it. And then you cut to even just 4 months later, I can go up and down twice in like under 5 minutes. And it's just, yeah, I'm not gonna get a gold medal, but for me, that's like this feeling strong is better than anything, you know?
Then the string up the ass.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Excuse me.
It is.
I mean, let's call it what it is. You feeling strong gives you the confidence, has you stand taller, makes you feel like you're more beautiful, that you're more aligned with your pure self. It gives you a superpower that you didn't even know you were missing and needed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter at the end of it all. It's just that is. And that's the kind of thing that it's kind of the fairy dust that they judge on us if we're open to receiving it. And look, at that's a lucky conversation to have. But I know, like with yourself, for me, it saved me through all this cancer journey and stuff that I thank God was in alignment before. And you've probably also been this. I've been an athlete all my life, but just because I was an athlete all my life didn't mean I was the tiny little girl that most of my girlfriends were.
Right.
I was a little, Sicilian Jewish girl. We were having bagel spreads on Sunday morning and, pasta the rest of the week. Like it was just a carbaholic existence that
That's
I
like training.
loved.
You're basically training for a marathon all the time. That's what you were
I
doing.
mean,
You were
exactly.
turbo loading.
I was just preparing.
P.S. I like that you said that. I'm sure you've also been an athlete all your life. I was not an athlete all my life, but thank God you think that. I was, as a tall girl that was, almost like 6 feet, everyone's like, oh, you should play basketball. I'm like, why? You should be in volleyball. I tried it and I did enjoy it. I was a theater kid. Like I want to do theater. So I was built like they wanted me to play all these things. Just like my son, who is like 6'5" or 4. And everyone assumes that he's going to play all the he does that's not his jam, not at all. But so I was not, I mean, I enjoyed like playing softball and stuff like that, but I was not, I was on the JV volleyball team. I believe I ordered pizza to the gym and I was then not asked back.
Well, I'll pull back.
So I've been far more athletic. But I say that knowing that when you're in theater, you were in dance. You had to take dancing or movement for the theater. I was doing all those things. So yes, I couldn't, my bump set spike wasn't always on point, but I could do a double time step and do that.
Good.
Anything goes, the whole thing. So
You were coordinated singing and dancing and moving that gorgeous body. Yeah,
there's
you're
different
that's
types
athletic.
of athletes.
That's right, there is. But I don't think it's that to that point. I think it's about a wider, broader spectrum of what is. And therefore you are. And because it takes all those things. It takes eye-hand coordination to,
Yeah.
in any of those things. So that's the good news. And so therefore you were the athlete. I mean, listen, when I think back on it, as you were sharing, I would not have, even though I grew up as like on a swim team, which by the way, I don't like, I mean, I like competition with myself, I
Right.
like striving to be better, but I'm not into being in competition with other people. It doesn't, yeah, I mean, I think it's important to have a drive. Don't
Right.
get me wrong. But I'm not here to like plow you over so I can get to where I want to go. Like that doesn't interest me. But I also do believe in like the philosophy and using those illustrations and having those illustrations before us to keep in mind how to teach and how to be and potentially if it's a good thing, right? But I laugh at myself because, I never thought of myself either as an athlete, but I was, trained as a little ballerina and the modern and the tap and which was able to like do well for me in musical theater, which I loved and,
Yeah.
would have loved to go to Broadway, but I never thought saw my I mean, I was the character girl. I wasn't the
Well, so was I.
ingenue.
I no one would believe I was the ingenue. They'd be like, if the guy tied you to the railroad tracks, you would just go, you'd literally break out of the ropes and be like, "Ugh," like the Hulk.
No, it's like being carried across the threshold.
Yeah.
You're picking them up. I was
Yes.
picking my husband, my first husband, up practically. I mean, he literally had me under the breast, like with my toes pointed, dragging across the floor. It couldn't have been more comedic and crazy and whatever,
The closest I ever got was Helena in Midsummer, but every tall girl was Helena, so
Yeah.
I was never going to be, I was always the character girl, which I embrace because, and I'm glad that I learned to embrace it early on because that girl, that girl that plays the sidekick or the funny one or this, she's going to work a lot longer if she can embrace that side of her. And so I embrace that pretty early on.
Well, that's a great segue because I wanted to get into that because you really have taken that exact model consciously, unconsciously. I think it's a beautiful thing that you got that early on, that you could lean into that and show up. And thankfully, they were either writing it, needed it, saw the value in you, created it, whatever the science of the mind has been. I love that you have successfully continued to do that in our contemporary time because yes, we have the Lucille Balls and the Ethels kind of, we have those references from our past, so to speak, or in our history and archives. But today, with especially all the like, how do you filter this, or how do you get rid of this, or how do you adorn this? It's, I mean, look at you. You don't have to be you can still be smart and beautiful and striking and all those things and still be the character actress,
Yeah.
and it's always been that way, and it's been that way since Hollywood, like, let's face it, when they were really writing for women
Mm.
and women were running studios and all the things early on. So we are lucky to have women like you who we get to see in our living room to play those characters that don't have to be something that we think we have to be, and yet love who you are. I want to make sure that that doesn't sound
Yeah.
like it's undervaluing who
No,
you are or what you portray. Does that make
not at all.
sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. No, and I say that also knowing that, uh I could also sometimes play that the blonde, the bombshell thing, but I wasn't gonna rely on that ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's the window that's like open for like, 30 seconds, really. I mean, not maybe not for most people, I guess. So I gravitate, and to me, the funny ladies, whether they were supposed to be, um, I just this is a I just had a thought because I remember I would go to I was in Minneapolis, so we'd always go to Second City. That would be a big treat to go to Chicago and see a show. And I ended up doing this similar sort of model in Minneapolis, which was Dudley Riggs' Brave New Workshop. But I remember, and then even watching, like I used to watch, I know that you also loved SNL and
Yeah.
I loved SCTV, but this
Yeah.
is a long way to get to. I felt for a long time there was a formula for like the improv or like those sketch comedy. It
Hmm.
was like you'd have the pretty girl, and then you'd have the girl that was like she was funny because she looked funny, or maybe they
Hmm.
thought she did. And I
Right.
always thought, like, why that pretty girl, they're both hilarious. And then I remember seeing that as like even in high school, and knowing that something was like kind of like, you'd have the guy that was like the bigger guy, and then the tall, skinny guy, and then the handsome guy, and then it was like the pretty girl and the girl that was that they and again, they labeled them. That's what they thought they were. And
Totally.
it felt like there was always the same formula in every show I was like at. I was like, well, that's why, that girl is that girl that you think is supposed to be this, she should have been in that sketch. And that girl you think is only going to walk in and go like, oh my gosh, like playing that role, she should have been doing the other one. So I remember wanting to switch that and not knowing how to articulate it, maybe not even now, but seeing that and going, this formula, I see it everywhere, and this formula can be changed. Like,
and to that, go ahead. I'm sorry, I
no,
didn't
go, no, I
interrupt.
would
No,
go.
and to that point, that's exactly, and this is no joke, and I know this is going to go out to the ethers, so got to work fast. But the point is that's exactly why, as a person who has watched and loved comedy so much, and I don't have to be a historian about it, by the way, but to know what resonated and why it worked versus maybe why others do or don't. Yeah, my vision board at 8, 9 years old, that before vision boards were being spoken of by Oprah, because Oprah didn't exist at this time, was the original cast of SNL and a bunch of blue ribbons and traveling and all the things I manifested thus far that I didn't know was going to turn into my career. And yes, because of what you just said, the formula, I am so anti-formula in anything in my life, yet I love structure, I love systems, but I don't love people being labeled. Why? Because I get that. And that's why I was saying what I was saying leading up to what you just said. I don't believe in a formula either. I don't believe that you, this beautiful, smart woman, however this town sees you or this world sees you, none of it really matters. The bottom line, period. You're playing a character outside of who you are. And it's whether or not that aligns with what you want to do. And yeah, this world has a major issue with all of this stuff. All of this, these what I call barnacles on the boat. And how do we recalibrate? How do we do that archaeological dig and go, okay, everybody, we're going to come together on stage. We're going to rewrite this play. We're going to make it a musical all about what you ever imagined, and you're going to be dumbfounded, but we're going to do it. Let's all commit. All right. Yes. Boom. Done. That's the kind of show, kind of comedic variety show I would love to create. That's what I always imagine. That it is about a lot of funny ladies. That it is about like women being featured, not, and I love my men.
Yeah.
But let the men be the support like they were to the Carol Burnett's of the world or the Lucille Balls or the whomevers. But feature multiple ones who are not in competition with each other, but are fucking hysterical off the charts when it's like a round table of the collective and then off into the individual spheres. Those are the that's what my vision has always been, and why you, Mo, Nicole.
Oh, Nicole.
Jesus God, the two of you together, if I could have ruined more takes than God. More takes than God. And I was like, please, God, do not let me ruin this take. I had to, but I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the only one.
She's one too that I feel like when that I felt that way with a few people. I've been very lucky, like with Reba, but Nicole was another one that I just sat next to. I'm like, we are supposed to do this. And I feel like I don't have to, I feel like I have a shorthand with you the first time I met you. And I had that with Reba. I've had that with a lot of comedy partners where you feel like you met them a long time before. And I don't have to explain it to Nicole, and she doesn't have to explain it to me what she's about to do, because I just know. And she cracks. I just love her.
Yeah, no, I mean, sincerely, I mean, Nicole was my girl the first 5 seasons of Mad TV. She would fall asleep and wake up and be a whole new character that we had never established. And then that would like run for, a couple seasons or whatever. It was pretty remarkable the things that we got to manifest together unknowingly, that was going to be a journey we were doing.
Yeah.
And then Mo was the same way. Mo and Alex and Will Sasso, they all showed up in that cast. And I remember from day one doing promos with them, and the photographer trying to, speaking of body images, the photographer trying to hide Alex Bornstein's body. Now look at her. Like I would be stepping in because here I had come from being my own producer in my own photo studio, and being like, whoa, wait, and I was just the makeup, or I was the key on the show. Like, who am I to step in? But I was just like, no, 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 sweetie, like, don't worry, you're good. Like, I mean, just
Yeah.
whatever, like whether you want it or not. I was just like, I've seen a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seen a lot. I've had to, I don't want to keep my mouth shut anymore.
Don't.
But in a way that doesn't make people afraid. Not
Right.
in a way that like people are like, oh God, what is she going to say? No, on the contrary, of course I have manners. But I do think that this industry, this world, we have the power to like shift the vibration. And if not now,
I think a
when?
lot of it
Right?
has. And I think, I like it when I see, well, that girl or that person or whatever is, we've seen far more women who are in charge, and we see women that we think that they're supposed to play this one thing, and yet they are balls to the walls, funny and fearless, and they don't look what they maybe in the past would have been cast as. Like, I think that there's still lots of work to be done, which is why your show, which you will be producing, it's happening. We're putting it out there.
Yes.
And but I my heart gets a little more full when I've seen like when you see a Parks and a Rec, and you see like, those shows
Amy.
and
Yeah.
30
And
Rock, where I'm like,
yeah,
yes,
I was going to say
they're the
Tina. Yeah.
centerpiece. They're the centerpiece
Yeah.
of the show. Maya
Agreed.
Rudolph, you see those things and you're like, this makes me, this fills the tank. It gives me
Love
hope.
Maya. Yes, I
Well, by
agree
the way, just a
100%.
sidebar, we did a sketch show when I first moved to LA, and I saw her just this last weekend at the Hollywood Bowl at the Brandy Clark, Joni Mitchell,
Yeah, yeah.
Annie Lennox came out,
Oh,
Wendy and Lisa. Can I just tell you,
are you kidding me? Wendy and Lisa?
Wendy and Lisa, and you know what a dork I was? I went up to Wendy and I showed her my Prince tattoo. Like, I think she said something like, "Are you from?" She's like, "Oh yeah, you're from Minneapolis." I'm like, "Am I?" And I like show her first of all, I had been bawling the entire concert. I bawled Brandy Carlisle. I was crying, and then Annie Lennox came out, and then Joni. So I was already emotional. I had been crying. I'd had a glass and a half of wine. We're back. We get to go to the after party, which, thank you, Carolyn Snell, who works with Brandy. I am overwrought emotionally. I lift my pants up to show Wendy something. I see Maya, who I've worked together, and I'm looking at her like, like we used to do. I think they think I was maybe someone's friend that got let in. I didn't know. It was awful, but you know what? No regrets. I was excited, but I made a complete, I was a fan. I fangirled backstage.
Oh my
Yep.
God. I have tried to keep my laughter inside this
It was
whole
like this.
time.
It was like, I'm being introduced very properly. Like, hi,
Yeah,
Wendy, this is Melissa. She's from Minneapolis.
yeah.
And imagine somebody just going, oh, look at my leg. Wendy, oh my God, you're so great. Oh, so, you live in LA? Like, it's just awful.
Hysterical. Oh my God, hysterical. You are hysterical. And it so resonates. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. First off, crying thing, I'm so right there with you. I mean, I go to it wasn't the Brandy Carlisle, Annie Lennox, and Joni Mitchell and Wendy and Lisa lineup. but I was like that with Barbara Streisand, or I was like that with Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett,
Oh yeah.
or like I'm that live theater girl that I go to Broadway or I go to
I
any
cried
live
every curtain
performance and
call.
I'm like fucking Madonna screaming down, like it's just like that constant stream. It's a religious and spiritual
I,
experience
I cried
because
every curtain call in Broadway. By the way, it might even be a show I didn't enjoy that much. It doesn't matter. If if there's people that I just look at them and I go, look at you, and you're coming out, people are applying, I will cry every single time because it's a lot. People, I know what it's like, and like live actors and just that experience together. Like, and to be honest, yeah, maybe there's some shows I didn't even enjoy and I'm still crying. But then the ones I do, but I'll just cry. I'll cry because we were all there together. We all saw the show together, and I'm watching you get your applause on stage, and nothing feels like that, and you deserve it, and you worked your ass off. And I just, that feeling is just incredible. And so
agreed.
I'm a baller. I joke that I can cry when it's about things that are outside of myself, that are, but when it comes to like my own stuff, that's harder for me to do. But anything else, maybe that's why I can cry at a yogurt commercial, because I can't do it about stuff I should. So when I see like, why is that fruit on the bottom? Maybe that fruit wants to get on the top. But like, I'll, maybe that's why I do it everywhere else. But yeah, I just was a mess. That was, speaking of just women, like it was all women, and they just, that, if there was a roof on the Hollywood Bowl, it would have been gone. It was just incredible. It's
It
amazing.
must have been off the charts. I
And
mean,
Annie Lennox, like
that,
60 something, badass. She had this t-shirt and like this fedora. She crushed. I've loved Brandy Carlisle before. I like to say before anyone else thought they
yeah,
just
yeah,
discovered her.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and then Joni, who was
Oh,
the queen, and she was, we watched her, she was sitting not
I
far
was
from
gonna
us.
ask.
And
Yeah,
then to
yeah.
watch her walk up on stage and just the queen. And it was, it was like, I got goosebumps. I couldn't contain it. It was such a special night, anyway.
And nor should you. I mean, because these are the gifts. Those are the moments in life that validates, like, either you feel like you're in the right place on your journey, how gorgeous of a gift, how, what a reminder, the vibrancy of what life is meant to be about, celebrating life, celebrating each other, celebrating these magnificent spirits that are circling around and you get to be a part of, and celebrate them. Like, it's just energetically, it's just the ultimate of the, whether you want to call it the universe or
It's,
quantum physics or whatever you want to call it.
and I feel like what you said is, it's a gift. What a gift that I got to be in the presence of those ladies. And some of those songs, like Joni Mitchell, River, that song is something that I'll cry talking about it, but it's such a important in my life song, a friend of mine song. Wendy and Lisa, like, I mean, as a child, like my mom would try to like take away my Prince cassette and I just go buy a new one. And like, because she thought that one song was too dirty, whatever. But Wendy and Lisa were such, like, they are part of my life. And to, what a gift, as like, I would never think that that little girl in Minnesota who was secretly listening to her Prince tape that her mom thought was too dirty, or this college girl, or this 40 50 woman listening to Joni Mitchell, that I got to be in that room and see that happen. Like, it is a gift that you never think when you're that little kid, because to me music is just as powerful as comedy, like laughter,
Oh
like,
yeah.
and music can change your mood, it can change your mind, it can immediately transport you back into a time in your life. And it's just, and I can't do it like Reba was like, you just love music, and I go, well, I can't sing like you, and if I could, I would just sing to myself all the time, you know and she I tell her, like, because I can't, what you do is so beyond, like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't always get it. Like, I don't know. And I know she gets it, but I'm like, people left relationships that were bad for them, Reba, because of your song. You know,
Right.
people, people can listen to Lady Gaga, Barbara Streisand. I can listen to Joni Mitchell, and it can make you, like I said, it can it's powerful beyond belief. So I have people that make me laugh, that can sing, like that's it. Those are the people that are the kings and queens in my life.
Well, it's a universal language, obviously, that none of us need to speak the same language, and yet the emotions are going
Yeah.
to really most likely align. You hear a cello, you hear a saxophone, you hear a voice box, you hear a lyric, and again, you can either remember where you were or how it hit you in that moment or how it resonated with that timeline. And I do think, like, I agree, music is probably the most powerful language we have in our universe, so to
Hmm.
speak. I think in the sense of connecting our human spirit, so to speak, and plants or whatever, water, like whatever the energy that all gets vibrated. You don't need a double A battery. I'm
Yeah.
just like, but in the truth of it, I agree with you. Like, you don't have to be a musician like Reba, though. God willing, what a gift. Also, like, what a gift. What a historical gift in our contemporary day
Hmm.
to have this powerhouse of a woman that, out of most of the women you've spoken of, not the women of the lineup at the Bull, but otherwise, I've also had the pleasure of being in their space and look forward to it. Like, I say this, Melissa, like, I look forward to like this going forward part of my life, because I think it's going to be everything I imagined from the time I was that little girl, like, going forward. This is a perfect example of it. Sitting down with you, just as two women who love and appreciate a lot of the same things, have never had this kind of time together outside of a work environment, been very fleeting. Like, these are like, it's like going back to the Midwest and planting all those seeds in the farmland. This to me is what I'm seeing from all those seeds that were planted in the farmland years and years ago. That's how powerful these moments mean to me. And for some, that's like, oh, whatever, Felicia, too much, too deep, just do my makeup.
I need coffee before you tell me how I can fix my heart. I can't do this. Just gloss, please.
It's like I always say to people, like, don't look to your spouse as like the only person that you tell everything to, because they're not equipped. It's not, I don't care how talented and gifted. You got to have a community. It's like women running with wolves. You got to have a community to, like, be expressed and be able. So, like, you don't bring it to work, or if you bring it to work, it's not like, oh, but you didn't dump the truck,
Right.
you know? And so, getting back to the music thing, it's like, I too think that uh, when I think that music should be listened to from a moment of conception. I think that once you know that a baby is growing inside of you, that
Sometimes the music
means,
is the reason there was a conception.
there you go. Exactly.
Don't just
Exactly.
warning for everyone, don't play Prince Pink Cashmere. You'll probably get pregnant.
Well, and it's so funny because I can think of how monumental that music was also for me, and how I relate and why it made me laugh so much amongst the whole experience at the Bowl, which was that I at that time I was in my early part of college, and I was a camp counselor when I first heard this up in northern Wisconsin, in Eagle River, Wisconsin. And I hear this music and I'm like, what in God's name did I just hear?
Hmm.
Like, what was that? And I remember thinking at the time that I wanted to align with him. And I was like, who do you think you are? You want to align with this guy? Like, you're not even out of school. But I was just like, I'm bound and determined to align with this kind of a spirit, kind of thing. Who wasn't? I
Right.
mean, to your point. And it cracked me up, your story, because after the fact, I actually did have the opportunity to align with him, but something else came about. And then when I got like after my pre-med fine art, photography, film, theater, like studies and university, like go out into the world. Now you're a starving artist, figure it out moments. And go to beauty school. This is why I ended up in hair and makeup, because I knew I couldn't direct as a filmmaker. Because why? Because I'm a woman. Just figure out how to get your ass on those sets so you can be around it and then become it eventually, right?
Right.
Those are my plans. And that's really been the plan all along. So one of many. So I go to beauty school. I end up aligned with the people who inspired me growing up. I end up doing platform work and end up being the last, in this particular case, the model, not the artist, and sitting in the chair of this very famous hairdresser at the time who had created the look of Twiggy, ironically. So imagine this beautiful look of Twiggy, but now you got long, naturally curly hair, and this guy's going to make a statement with your head of hair. And he takes the example of Wendy and Lisa's hair from the band.
Yes.
And a story was just told to me recently by both of the hairdressers who own the salon that I work with and who were there watching this whole thing go down and knew me since I was a little girl, and said that when I saw all the hair falling off the head, being cut off the head, they were just like sending vibes and messages to me like, it's okay, honey, it's okay, honey. And he thinks he's going to get this Lisa and Wendy look with this curl and all this stuff.
Right.
And my hair did not respond that way. Like it would get curlier longer versus curlier shorter and all. And he was just dumbfounded by the lack of like what occurred and the powerful statement he's trying to make because of this period situation. And I was horrified and depressed for like 2 months because I felt like I lost the power of my hair. And I just find it so humorous, like those periods of time, you just talk about how music associates like just so many stories, important or not, but marking points, memory points, how I would give my eye teeth to takes music from Prince's albums and body of work and be able to put it to film, because
Yeah.
I have loved all my life. I mean, I was a trained cellist, so I was a first cellist for years.
You have done everything. Truly.
Well, this is honestly, I haven't done
That's
everything.
like this, by the way, I feel like this could come out of your mouth like, oh, back when I was a surgeon. I remember when I was working for the Peace Corps. When I was a spy over in, you just drop things that I'm like, how can I not know that already? Like oh.
Honestly, yes, I have a lot of experience in a lot of different things. Am I an expert or an authority? Maybe, maybe not. I don't like go around flinging that stuff. It just so happens I got exposed to a lot of things, and I appreciate you saying, and you're not the first to be like, seriously, like, when are you writing the books? Or seriously,
Yeah.
when are you producing? Which is what led to me doing this platform. This is a platform I wanted to actually do 10 years ago before people were even talking. Like this would have been, podcast would have been like,
Before you got a
Hebrew.
podcast with your 10th frozen yogurt, like, you've had 10 frozen yogurts. Here's your free one and a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And I even remember, see, this dear friend of mine, and I've told this story that this was some vision I also had, and he and I would have this very stream of consciousness conversation about all the things. And when I told him, he did think I was speaking Hebrew. And when I proposed this recording to just kind of get a feel, he was like, okay. And then I heard it and went, oh no, no, that's not happening. And then life happened. And thankfully not thankfully, let me retract that. And then the pandemic happened. And then I started doing things really messy and exploring and launching things. And one thing led to another through my getting actually on technology and social media, things that I was completely not,
Right.
going to see myself doing. And through that, ended up meeting my producing partners, who were like, of all people, you got to have a podcast, because you literally can relate to anything anybody says and have empathy and compassion and talk about it. And I was like, yeah, that's always been my vision. And they're like, let's do it. That's why, I'm not here to drop bombs, but I'm here to be like, let's sit around the campfire. Let's talk about all this stuff, because there are things that we're all connected by. And I believe that, it's funny you said, I feel like you're going to turn around and say, and then when I was in surgery in the Peace Corps, I mean, 4 years ago, this is no joke. 4 years ago, I was asked by my doctor to go back to med school. And I literally said to him, I don't know if you're joking with me right now, because you've got such a dry sense of humor.
Right.
And he says, no, I'm not joking with you. We really need doctors like you. I was like, well, thank you. And I'm not going back to
I
medical
can't
school.
go because I have to play my cello tonight with the LA Philharmonic. So
Wish. Oh my
I've
God,
got a lot on my plate.
I
I've got a
wish.
lot on my plate.
Man, did you ever follow? I mean, you would have been like a peewee at this point. I don't even know why I said peewee, because I've never used that term. You were, because you're so younger than me. Did you ever hear Harry Chapin's music as a little girl?
No.
Oh my God. Speaking of music, go look up Harry Chapin. I wanted to be his cellist.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah. No, you will, I think, love his music. And it may open up a whole new little, sweet moment for you. But his music is really lyrical and it's really great storytelling.
Oh,
And
okay. Well, I mean, I know that he wrote, I can see, okay, sorry, I just was looking. So
no,
Cat
it's good.
Cradle and all that. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I thought I would like being his cellist, to me, would have been super cool. And unfortunately, I think I saw him in one of his last concerts before he unfortunately got, I think, killed. And but I think back to like little girl moments when I was being, what I knew I was an artist and a performing artist. I never really kind of titled myself as, because in those days, your parents weren't putting you in ballet, and you weren't
Right.
doing a play, and you weren't doing art or playing a cello and going, oh, I'm going to get you in commercials now. That
Yep.
wasn't my track. That was more of about, we see your talent. We want to give you this opportunity. We can, therefore we are. And that's a really grateful place to be. And I know how fortunate, but never in a million years did I realize actually how fortunate. It's been more in the more recent years how fortunate I feel. But that exposure also gave me an unconsciousness to become a filmmaker, because going back to music, I love taking images, whether it's a bunch of photographs I've taken or a bunch of photographs other people's taken collectively, or in motion now because of our technology advancements, even though we had that before, but at our like hands all the time. And taking Elena to soundtrack and like emoting emotions from laughing to crying, like that to me is like so joyful.
Yeah.
So joyful. And so when we do the show, when we're
Yes.
doing the show, doing this very successful funny lady show, we will also make sure that Reba is a part of it.
Yes, because she is really funny.
Yes. No, I know. I
You know,
know.
I mean,
No, it's a perfect fit. It's a
yeah,
perfect fit. I'm excited for us.
this is going to be great. I can't wait to, I'm already deciding what I'm going to wear the first day of rehearsal.
I love that. I won't even ask, because I'm just going to let you keep that be a secret and super special. But if you're wearing pearls at any point, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. It could happen.
It could happen. Well, I'm just super curious about little Melissa and how and who she was under the age, if you remember, 5, because growing up in Minnesota is obviously its own world.
Mm-hmm.
each person's environment different, of course, but I think it's a pretty sweet space up there environmentally. That's my take. So I'd really love to hear, like, who were you under the age of 5? What were you thinking? What were you dreaming of? What did you envision?
I don't know if under 5, that's such a, if I remember stuff under 5. Um, I must have been, I guess I was in kindergarten because I was that July birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I do remember kindergarten, and it was such a big, not a scandal, but I was one of the only kindergartens that had a male teacher, which was such a rare thing back then. And so I do remember kindergarten, and I remember that. I was an observer, I think. I wasn't shy. My older sister is a few years older than me. She was shy. I was not shy. I could be loud, and I was kind of I could walk into someone's room like, where do you keep your toys? And my sister would be a little shy about it. But at the same time, I was, I think I was a big reader. I did start to read pretty young. So I don't know if under 5, but I was close to by kindergarten. I was reading. So I loved
Mm-hmm.
reading because I felt like that was, before we had these hand computers, books were the way you could explore lots of things. Um, I was the youngest, so I had that role. My sister was the older sister. I adored her. I think she tolerated me. But we are very close now. Um, I'm trying to think, like, because under 5, but kindergarten, I loved school. I loved being
Yeah.
in school. I liked having assignments. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm that weird sort of creative person that I like to have a schedule at the same time as being
Mm-hmm.
free. There's that weird
Mm-hmm.
thing that, like, you pick a career that you never know if you're going to work. You never know if the job's your last job. But when it's happening, I like to know, all right, that time it's going to be at 9 o'clock. I'll be right there. And that, I like that kind of stuff. Um, I think I knew what funny, I think I understood what was funny at a young age. I was that, maybe a little older than 5, but close to like 5, 6, 7, when we start to sleep over at my Aunt Susie and Kathy's, who were the single ones of my mom's sisters. So they had like the water bed, and they had, we could drink tab and stay up late. And sometimes we just have, licorice for dinner. And I would get to stay there, and I would stay up late and watch Saturday Night Live. And loved it. Didn't always understand all of it, which was fine because the things I did. Steve Martin, my aunt would always listen to the Steve Martin comedy album. My first, or I guess not my first, because I don't steal people's, but I did plagiarize. I would act out King Tut with the bathtub. I would completely do that for my aunt. And then there was some of his. She would always skip over a few of the. I remember her picking up the needle of the record and going, not this one, and then going back to like another one on Steve Martin, which I think I own that album now. And I'm like, which one was she not thinking I could hear? So I knew that I was loved and safe. Like my parents were. I think those are the early most impressions you have. Maybe you don't remember specific things, but I knew that we were my mom and dad made my sister and I feel very safe and loved. So that was always those early memories of that. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of more. I loved animals. I was very happy playing by myself, um,
Mm.
which is I don't know if that's a marker of creative or just somebody who was maybe not popular. I don't know. I was very happy alone. I could create
Yeah.
my little stuff. And sometimes when I would play with, I always had um I was more about quality than quantity, like as far as
Mm-hmm.
friendships go. I never had a million. I had a few really close ones. And
Mm-hmm.
I also was like, I'm super fine by myself because I'm gonna read
Mm-hmm.
Trixie Belden mystery, and then I'm gonna act it out with my little figurines or whatever. I was super happy to create stories there and in my head, which was so I remember
So
like
you had a good imagination.
I had a good
I'm just
imagination.
letting and in with your imagination. Sorry, Melissa,
No, no,
my
hi.
sweet,
I-
sweet
Dogs
older
are
dog.
perfect.
Um, hi, sweetie. regarding your imagination and having, your Aunt Susie and Kathy to have licorice for dinner and watch SNL and all those good fun things. And I feel like I feel like your Aunt Kathy and Susie, I'm called Aunt Fifi, which is part of how the name of Camp Fifi comes up, because camp was like where I was the ultimate camp counselor that
Oh my God,
everybody's
you would
wanted.
be the best.
It was amazing. And I didn't know that that was going to become, but that's not getting off. This is not getting off what you're saying. It's just to tie it all in. And the Fifi came out of a nickname over time because of Felicia and then endearment, and uncensored because there isn't anything we can't talk about,
Right.
as we already highlighted. But getting back to that kind of influence and funny, it's interesting when you were mentioning how listening to Steve Martin's albums and recreating that. I relate to that because at that point I was in boarding school. I had just no, I was a couple years later that I went away to boarding school because in 76 my parents divorced, we lost our businesses, my father died, lots of things shifted. But SNL was one of those things, like in my childhood, The Tonight Show, Laugh-In, like these are where all the women were being showing up. Goldie Hawn, Lily Tomlin, Joanne Worley, and then again, Toady Field, Joan Rivers, all those women, which is why I ended up aligning. I mean, there's no surprise that I ended up aligning, becoming Ellen DeGeneres' personal for several years with no connections, by the way. Like, I don't know, like the stars just, same with Lily,
Ugh.
people like you, Mo, Alex, all these, like, who's that little girl coming from Rockford, Illinois? How did that happen? Like, so to your point, this is again why I love and adore you, because I know you get it. I always say, us Midwest kids, we come to LA, our paths may never have crossed prior,
Right.
but for some reason, this work ethic, this sensibility, this environment, whether it was on a farm or culturally exposed to theater or a combination or none of the above, or had a lake house, didn't have a lake house, knew how to swim, didn't play volleyball, whatever it was, there's this understanding, like there is this common language I feel we speak.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
relate to that?
I do relate to that. And I think that's why you gravitate. There's a pull, there's a magnetic pull of that sensibility. And I think it attracts it. I'm not surprised that those things fall into your lap because it's supposed to be. And that's the energy that that person would want around, or, and I think that's who I want to be around. That's, you sort of attract, likeness attracts likeness. It does.
It does.
And I do, the work ethic thing too is a very big thing. Like, I feel like I learned so much about funny in Minnesota and Minneapolis, which by the way, I was super lucky. Like, I did improv in Minneapolis with the funniest people ever. Like, Mo and I both worked at the same improv theater, and she was, you're like, oh my God, Mo Collins used to work here. Oh my God. Just, she's a genius. And I don't know if it's because it's cold, so we're inside a lot. So we got to be funny, but but that also is coupled with a work ethic and tenacity. And I don't know, and when you say yes the whole time. Like, that's my one thing. And it's come up a couple times where, somebody, they said yes to a job. So we didn't trick you. We didn't kidnap
Right.
you. You said yes. So when you
Right.
get here, continue to say yes. Don't say yes and then get there and your attitude is no. Like, oh, it's taking so long. Why is it that, like, no. You said yes. So you say yes until you're wrapped. You say yes till you're signing out. Like, and I've had to remind myself of that sometimes, because as a Midwestern, we also have a hard time saying no, or as a
Yeah.
women, whatever.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just
Yeah. All of
learning that skill. So
Yeah.
sometimes I've said yes to things going, I know I don't want to do it. It's going to make me feel stressed because I've got too much, and then so I I'll get, the day will come where I've said the yes, and then it's approaching and I'm starting to get that feeling of like, you didn't want to do it. You didn't want to do it, but you said yes. So Melissa, you better make sure you show up there tomorrow and you are yes is on your face, yes is in everything you do. And then as soon as you do that, you end up having a great time. But it's also a lesson that sometimes you should have just said no.
I'm just absolutely grateful I did not ruin a take. When I'm laughing or what somebody causes me to laugh about, you have to be super funny and smart to really throw me into that space. And Melissa just happens to be one of those people, one of those rare people who really can do it to the point where I could have earned many a take through our conversation. So join us next week. And in the meantime, share and subscribe the Can't Fifi Uncensored podcast. Heard on any of your favorite listening platforms. And come back next week for episode 111, part 2, as Melissa and I continue our conversation, and I can't wait for you to hear more. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us. Big hugs and kisses. Have a great week. Much love. Bye for now.